This is the country inside Japan that nobody talks about.
Just a 2-hour drive northwest of Tokyo is the Gunma Prefecture, best known for Kusatsu, a hot spring town where you can soak in the authentic Japanese onsen experience. As we drove closer to the small town of Oizumi, we saw signs in Portuguese, Spanish, and even the fashion had a little more of a Latin flavor. We saw a Brazilian food truck, went to a Peruvian restaurant, and even got the chance to interview a local.
Es que acá en realidad te das cuenta que tú no eres descendiente japonés, el japonés te ve a ti como extranjero.
Guma basically is how you say Brazil and Peru in Japanese. When you think of Japan, what comes to mind? Maybe you think of sushi, anime, and how it's basically the safest country in the world. But what happens when you introduce a whole community of immigrants that create their own country inside Japan? You can't get more Brazilian than this. Municipal de Esportes. My Portuguese is not good, but in Spanish, you can see Campo Municipal de Béisbol, which this could be read in both Portuguese and Spanish.
Nishikoizumi Station isn't your typical Japanese train stop. It's full of colors and signs that represent the town's large Brazilian population. And if you squint hard enough, you might just forget you're in Japan. But make no mistake, this is the main station that most of the foreign workers use to commute to their jobs in the factories and manufacturing plants nearby.
If you didn't know this, I come from a Peruvian immigrant family in the US. So when I heard about this town, naturally, I had to come see it with my own eyes. Check out this sign. It's in Japanese and Portuguese, and it's basically saying not to hang around and talk loudly at night, not make any noise, especially because this is a residential area, so there's people that are trying to sleep at night, and there's probably a lot of immigrants, I suppose, being loud here in the park. chilling like a villain, drink.
The whole town is filled with Brazilian supermarkets, Peruvian restaurants, businesses with signs in Portuguese, and even hair salons with a more Latin flavor.
But you might be wondering, why would people from Peru and Brazil end up in rural Japan of all places?
Well, funny enough, their ancestors were actually Japanese laborers who moved to Latin America in the early 1900s to work in the fields, right about after slavery was abolished and the region had a labor shortage. Then, about a century later in the 80s and 90s, right when Japan's economy was booming with cars and electronics, factories needed workers. And someone in the government had a moment like, hey, remember those Japanese people we sent to Latin America? Yeah, what if we brought their grandkids back? And just like that, Japan decided to re-import its own people. Only this time they spoke Portuguese and Spanish.
This town of Nishikoizumi has about 41,000 people, and a whopping 20% of the population is foreign. One of the big companies that brought all of these foreigners here is a giant, Panasonic. And I think there's a Subaru around this area too. There's a lot of factories that are pulling all the migrant workers.
But you can't have all these immigrant workers without their delicious flavors. Here we encountered a Brazilian food truck.
This is a Brazilian churrasco, Brazilian barbecue. You can see just in a little food truck. This is not something you normally see in other places in Japan. 35 años.
Lleva así bien.
¿Qué le puedo preguntar? ¿Qué fue lo más difícil cuando llegó a Japón usted? Sí?
Mais difícil é a comunicação. Né?
La comunicación, sí.
¿Y la cultura? ¿Adaptarse a la cultura también?
Muy difícil
veja
todo.
Bem, que nem eu tô aqui, né? Eu faço isso aqui, né?
Sim.
Mas isso aqui, na realidade, eu posso só de assim, sábado e domingo, do yoga e de show.
After an insightful and friendly conversation, we walked a couple blocks over to a nearby Peruvian restaurant where we sat down for some delicious food and felt right back at home. Let me show you just what I mean.
Got the Peruvian ceviche here. For those of you who don't know what ceviche is, it's raw fish marinated in lime. You got causa. Causa is this yellow potato type looking sandwich thing. It's really hard to explain. You're just gonna have to look it up online. Wow, look at this. Lomo saltado. This is beef. This is a very popular Peruvian dish, except it's with spaghetti, with pasta with huancaína sauce. How do you even explain that in English, Huancaína sauce is like a Peruvian yellow pepper. It's like a cream made from Peruvian yellow pepper and cheese. And then you got the beef there, the tomatoes, the onions, cooked in soy sauce. This is a Peruvian beef heart skewers. Anticuchos is how we call it. Wow. What's good, Felipe? My buddy Felipe from Chile. He just got in Japan like 2 weeks ago.
Enjoying food.
Enjoying Japan? You enjoying Peru in Japan?
Yeah.
While we ate dinner, we met with a local named Lucho, a third-generation Japanese Peruvian who's been living in Japan for 34 years. He talked a lot about his life and what it was like moving to Japan in the 90s, working in the factories. This is his story.
Todos trabajaban en fábricas, no había otro tipo de trabajo.
¿Y qué es la fábrica más grande por aquí? Yo he visto aquí que hay Panasonic, Subaru.
Sí, casi la gran mayoría en esos tiempos eran autopartes, ¿no? Después salieron ya otros tipos de trabajo, ¿no? Pero en esos tiempos la gran mayoría era autopartes porque era el boom de Japón
Sí,
de los carros.
Claro, claro. Y los
Entonces,
carros era la industria más grande en la que trabajaban los inmigrantes.
sí. Después celulares, pero eran otro tipo de celulares, no como los de ahora. Eran unos celulares que... eso, ¿no? Entonces entró un tiempo eso, pero ya una vez que salieron ya los celulares más inteligentes, se fue abajo ese mercado, ¿no? Igual ya... Es que el celular cambió un montón de cosas. La gente antes mucho llamaba a su país por teléfono, ¿no? Con unos cartones, unos CADos.
Sí.
Ahora todo es por teléfono normal, ¿no? Antes uno tenía que ir a hacer cola en una cabina. Era difícil Japón. Japón es difícil.
But what's it actually like for even an ethnically Japanese descendant to fit in and integrate into Japanese society? What sort of obstacles and differences does he find?
Yo creo que si sabes el idioma, no. Yo creo que si sabes el idioma, no. Pero si no lo sabes, yo creo que es difícil. Por ejemplo, yo no lo sé. Para mí es complicado. Pero en ese tiempo todos venían así como a la que venga.
Many foreigners like Lucho live in Japan for decades without speaking much Japanese. They stick to tight-knit communities, speaking their native language, because most never really plan to stay here for long. Just work, save up money, and go home. But life doesn't always go as planned.
No, es que la meta en realidad de los que vinieron al comienzo, si tú no sabes el idioma y tú sales del país, la meta era regresar en realidad al país de nuevo. Solo que ya uno se acostumbró, hizo familia, todo acá, ¿no?
Pero la idea principal era regresar.
Claro, o sea, tú cuando sales de tu país, yo he estudiado primaria, secundaria en Perú, tengo mis amigos en Perú.
Claro.
¿Tu idea cuál es? Regresar, pues, porque esas son tus raíces. A mí me gusta más yo puedo tener descendencia japonesa, pero yo me considero peruano. A mí más me gusta el Perú que Japón. Es algo que no se puede. O sea, Japón es bonito, es limpio, todo, pero Perú con todas sus cosas.
Su salsa, su sabor.
Me gusta.
Claro.
Con todos los rateros y todo. Perú hay algo que te jala.
Claro.
Porque es como nosotros que no hacen
Los chilenos, claro. El sentimiento.
Es otro sentimiento, claro.
El japonés, un poco más
frío.
El japonés, por ejemplo, yo lo que tengo entendido, ellos cuando son primos no se reúnen mucho. En Perú, pues, como en Chile, primos, abuelos, todo el mundo está ahí, ¿no? Es otro calor.
Sí.
En realidad te das cuenta que tú no eres descendiente de japonés. El japonés te ve a ti como extranjero. Yo soy extranjero, porque yo no soy japonés, yo no hablo el japonés.
Sí.
A mi hija sí la pueden ver como japonesa porque mi hija habla y todo, y estoy acá, pues claro, si la ves, sí, es misma japonesa. Pero yo no, porque yo no hablo el japonés.
We thanked Lucho for his time and got ready for the long drive back, the dark country roads stretching ahead of us. As I drove back, I kept thinking about what he said, about identity, belonging, and what it really means to be a foreigner in Japan. Can immigrant communities truly flourish here without feeling isolated? How much of that depends on the locals, and how much is on us to bridge the gap? And then there's the bigger question. How does Japan balance preserving its culture while adapting to an increasingly globalized world? Some argue Japan should be cautious about accepting too many immigrants. Others say change is inevitable. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching till the end. Don't forget to subscribe for more Japan content, and I'll see you in the next one.